I'm Scott Al Miller. It's the 4th of December, 2022, and this is my vlog of daily life in Leon, Nicaragua. I'm filming at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac in Sutiaba, so this is actually really nice because I don't normally get to film in a place that is so incredibly quiet and free of distractions. I do have a little bit of dappled sun coming on my face, but other than that, it's weird hearing my voice so loud because I'm used to being in the middle of the city where there's just a million things going on. No matter what I do, it's so loud. No matter where I walk, it's so loud. When I'm down on the beach, you have the ocean and there's still a lot of activity. But now I'm actually in a really quiet area, and I mean, this is great. Like, take a quick look. It's just, this is an undeveloped cul-de-sac that I'm at. This is really secluded. It's very serene. I like this. I may do a bit of recording here because this is just, I mean, like, you're going to be able to hear my voice, and I'm able to step here and I don't have to worry about like people constantly coming by, which is interesting in some of the videos, but it's also really challenging a lot of the time because there's just people popping up and saying things, or, you know, trying to get my attention or trying to interact with the video. And yeah, that can be interesting, and I appreciate that people really want to be on the show. That's cool, but it also makes it really hard to do the things that I do because I'm trying to have basically a conversation with you guys, and I try to keep the flow going. And when people do that, boy, is it hard with just so much going on. So I'm liking this, and this is the first time checking it out, and I'm just going to show this tree. Like, this is really pretty. So today is the 4th. It is Sunday, and today I ended up spending the entire day working, even though it's a Sunday. We have a customer who had a major security event. We were brought on because they had a major security event. They weren't an existing customer who was hacked. We are often brought in because we're specialists once things go wrong and people are in over their head. So even large, well-known international companies very rarely have the skill sets you need in an emergency. They tend not to have the security skill sets, like what do we do for security, what do we do for forensics, who do we contact legally, and they often don't have the triage capabilities because they get their jobs through planning, right? And then their management doesn't realize that their infrastructure teams may have absolutely no ability to deal with disaster when it strikes. They can plan, they hope, and then in reality, often it's a lack of planning that creates the disaster, and then you realize you're in a situation where they hadn't done the planning and they don't have the skill set of triage, and then you're in really bad shape. And so companies like us and people like me are brought in because I'm a triage specialist. I don't do project planning. I do the fixing things when everything's gone wrong. And so I spent the entire day talking to people about their legal position, the technical issues, analyzing who was at fault, figuring out what was going on, and so forth. So that was my day, almost completely on the phone, pretty much the entire day, which is unfortunate because that added a lot to my why I'm so far behind on the show stuff that's been driving me crazy, but it is what it is, and we're getting there, and I think now we're in good shape to get things moving forward in the next few days to kind of catch up. Our big things going on this week, because Sunday, this is the beginning of the week. I do have a topic for today. We're going to get to that in a minute. One, the kids need to get their second shots. So they're not sure. They've been told, Dominica has been told that she may need to go to Managua with the kids either Monday or Tuesday. And so we're waiting to see. Basically, they let us know if things are going to be ready, and then we go to be there first thing in the morning to make sure we're not in the way. So we don't think, because we haven't been given the go-ahead for tomorrow yet, that it's going to be tomorrow, Monday, but it might be. So we're kind of waiting to see. And then on Wednesday this week, which will be the 7th, because Monday's the 5th, Tuesday's the 6th, on the 7th is the start of the big holiday here, and really the holiday is the 8th. So people work on the 7th, mostly. They try to get off early, and then it is a giant party in the evening. And at our hotel, we are doing the We Got Gems DJ concert there, and that's supposed to be really big and is starting after we have a busy day. We are closing the restaurant at 8 o'clock, putting up a barrier, dual stages, and then kicking off the dual DJ event with 10 DJs, 2 stages, so 5 and 5, going all night. So from 8 o'clock at night until 6 o'clock in the morning, when our restaurant staff returns, reopens the restaurant, and we go back to serving food and stuff for all those people, plus all the people on the beach, because the 8th is going to be the really busy day on the beach. So tonight, I'm sorry, the 7th, Wednesday night, is the really busy night in Leon because everyone goes out to the local festivals and does the drinking and everything. So it's a big party because they know they have tomorrow, Thursday, the 8th, to recover. On the beach is where they go on the 8th, on Thursday, because they're able to sit out on the beach and relax and spend their day enjoying their day off, their holiday day. So we have to reopen for that. So that's going on this week. That's going to be huge. And all throughout this week, we are attempting frantically to get moved into our new house, which we need to be into in time because we are now at the 4th. We have 10 days left until we are traveling to Houston, where we are spending the night at the airport, getting on a plane first thing the next morning and heading to New York to see my dad. So we have very little time left, but Paul can't handle the dogs and everything in our current house in La Barrio. We got to get into our new house in Sutiava in order for him to be able to handle everything. The new house has a big yard and the dogs can just run. They don't have to be walked and anything. And that'll make me feel so much better. One, that the dogs are happy, but also that they're safe. Because it is so dangerous walking them in La Barrio. It is a constant panic for me that something terrible is going to happen to them there. So I'm going to feel so much better once we have that taken care of. But the challenge is we don't have internet yet, and we're so busy this week, we're not sure when we're going to be able to get that done. But at the moment, there's no internet there, but we've had the house for 3 days already. We got it on the 1st. So that's going to be, we're really anxious to get in. And when we do get in, we have very few days in the house before we got to go one way or another. Even if we moved in today, we would have very little time to enjoy it before then. Okay, so that was it. Today's topic is going to be about what is the bar scene for actually getting drinks, the cocktail scene. Let's put it that way, the cocktail bar scene here in Nicaragua. Before we actually start into it, please remember, like and subscribe. Ask your questions, leave your comments, jump in down below. If you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee. I will do my best to put the link up. That comes directly to me. It actually, just put in a credit card and boop, it supports the channel. And which is really important because you're about to hear, hopefully, that I'm buying a new laptop when I head up to New York. That is not going to be cheap, but it is the only way I can do the videos as you get them while I'm traveling. And so I'm not traveling north of the laptop. I have to buy one and have it sitting up there waiting for me so that I can run my Final Cut Pro and keep making the videos for you while I'm spending 2 weeks in the US. And then I'll have a new smaller laptop for when I return, which hopefully I will be doing some traveling with. My current laptop is older, not bad, but it is older and it is pretty bulky because it was designed around being cheap, not around video editing or travel. And so it's going on to my daughter who needs it for her school, and I'm going to get the new one designed around my new needs now that the video stuff is a big deal and my travel is a big deal. I'll talk about more of that hopefully when I'm in New York and get it and explain why I chose what I chose for all of you. But if you want to buy me a coffee, that is where that is going. Of course, sharing social media means a lot. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to stop the video real quick and restart because the GoPro 9 is on its last leg, and I don't want to lose yet another video because I am losing them with great frequency at this point. All right, so if you're like me, you like to have cocktails or mixed drinks, and here in Nicaragua, that can be a little bit of a challenge. It's not that they don't exist, and it's not that people aren't interested in them, but it is not the big thing that it is in other places, including Guatemala. Like if you just go to Guatemala and probably Honduras and El Salvador, getting cocktails is pretty normal. And Guatemala, while they're not common, certainly has cocktail lounges like we're used to in the United States with all the different mixers and all the fancy things and bartenders who know millions of different drinks. So what is it like here in Nicaragua? And I have to say, it's true to the south as well. Costa Rica and Panama have a good drink scene as well. Here in Nicaragua, we have a very different situation. First of all, we only have a couple of liquor distributors in the country, or that are widely available, and their selection is pretty limited. So for example, if you want to get any rum that isn't made by Flor de Caña and any gin that isn't made by Flor de Caña, good luck. They do exist. There's ways to get it. It's not illegal, but there's no major distributors selling it. They have essentially a stranglehold on the market. They have very high quality products, and they are the national brand, obviously. So very few people have an interest in anything else. It's not like people are going out wanting to get things made outside of Nicaragua for the most part. It is a very, it's a small country, and people want to support their own country, and we make world-class rum here. Why would you get something else? It's not expensive to get it here. Our gin here, I'm not a connoisseur enough to have had a bunch. Like, okay, I'm saying that I've had a lot of gin. I'm a little bit of a connoisseur. I've not had the local gin enough straight to really have an opinion yet. So I will get back to you on that. But it's not famous like the rum is. And of course, gin is made from, it's all about botanicals here, but rum is about sugar, and we're in the middle of the sugar production region. So the rum really makes a lot more sense. And then Nicaragua makes its own beer, quite a few, and it's actually quite good. So there's very little desire to get beer from outside the country, and there's essentially no desire to get rum from outside the country. Gin, maybe. The things that we're really missing, whiskey almost doesn't exist here. If you want Scotch, there's a few options. Things like bourbon, rye, they just don't exist. Unfortunately, the one thing that does come in from the United States is Jack Daniel's, which is not a bourbon. Don't try to pretend it is. The Lincolnshire process is a Tennessee whiskey, and it is very different from a bourbon. That they have. There's a few things here and there, but for the most part, there's just Scotch and a relatively small selection. Vodka, you're okay. Still not a huge selection. There's a few. Tequila, pretty decent. But if you start wanting to get into like mezcal, you're really hunting for that, right? Well, I did see a billboard for mezcal recently. So certainly it's in stores, certainly it's in bars, but it's not that common. So the starting point is we have obviously all the types of alcohol, but we have very small selections of them. That's the starting point. So you're basically, you want a rum. Do you want the 4-year, the 6-year, the 10-year, the 20-year? That's kind of, those aren't the years, 12, 18. That's how it's being done. Do you want dark? Do you want light? We have those things, but you're not like, ooh, I want this brand, that brand for this. No, it's not like that. You just have the quality level. That's about it. And so that makes the drink scene alone quite a bit different. And then the liqueur market, the mixers market, the aperitif market is extremely small. We have Campari, we have Aperol. You can get triple sec, but barely. I have never seen Cointreau, right, which is so standard in bars around the world. Missing those core ingredients that you're used to makes the bar scene very difficult. And things like vermouth, yes, we have that, but a lot of other mixers we're not going to have. However, vermouth is often kept on the shelf because they don't know it's a wine, and it's very odd. So when you go to a bar here, you tend to have the shelves like you would in the United States, but instead of having a tightly packed shelf full of alcohol of different types, you have a loosely displayed shelf with just different bottles of rum for the most part, and then a few things of vermouth or whatever. And there's a few problems with this, and I'll tell the story real quickly. I went to one of the nicer lounges in town recently, and they have a very, very tiny menu, but I ordered vermouth as an aperitif because I wanted it before dinner. And if you've never done this, sweet vermouth is a pretty good aperitif before you're having dinner, so I recommend you try it. And everyone looked at me, even, Paul and Dominica are like appalled by, did you just order vermouth? Like, you ordered vermouth? I'm like, this is how it's meant to be drank. But I ordered Cinzano off the menu, and they didn't even know what it was. And I show them on the menu, and they're like, no, we don't have that. And we'll talk about that more in another episode as well. But so I just ended up getting Martini and Rossi Rosso, which is delicious, right? Martini and Rossi is an excellent vermouth. No complaints there. And so I enjoyed it. But they brought it to me in a shot glass, and brought me a glass of ice to go with it. And it's like, did you just bring me a shot of wine and then serve it to me to be over rocks in a rocks glass? And they're like, it's a shot. I'm like, it's a wine. And I'm like, show them, like vino. And they're like, oh. And so they got me a glass and brought me a wine glass and poured me an appropriate amount, which for those who are not aware, vermouth is a fortified wine, so it should be more than a shot, but definitely not as much as you might get of regular wine. It's somewhere in between, right? Because it's very strong. It's an aperitif fortified wine. And it's delicious. I would have preferred it not quite as warm as it is, because in Nicaragua, so if you're a aperitif drinker, you will normally be like, well, but room temperature is adequate for vermouth. And yes, you're correct if you're in the north, where we normally say room temperature is about 69 degrees, but here room temperature is about 83 degrees, and it makes a difference. That difference in room temperature is enough that you're like, that is a very warm vermouth, but it was still delicious. And other people tried it and were like, oh, that is good. And other people ordered it as well because I did it. So I made my point, but they had no idea how to serve it. But what's interesting is not only do they not know how to serve it, but they list it on the menu as a shot. When you have, so you go into this nice bar and it has this selection of things. And when you look at the menu, they don't have any cocktails. Now, some do. Some will have like, I saw a Hurricane recently, which is pretty rare. They'll often have a Tequila Sunrise. They will certainly have a rum and coke. They will have, which is a Cuba Libre if it's dark rum, Nica Libre if it's light rum. And but even that, sometimes you order that and people are like, what are you ordering? I've never heard of that. And you're like, it's on your menu. It is the national mixed drink. It's not a cocktail. Three ingredients is a cocktail. 2 is a mixed drink. So they'll have real basic stuff like that. You can order a few things and it's normally okay. But in a lot of places as well, they will not have any mixed drinks. No, now if you order a rum and coke, they'll go make it for you, or they'll bring you a coke and an appropriate amount of rum and you mix it in. That's fine, but that's how they often approach it. And when you look at the menu, they'll list all this alcohol, pages of alcohol, and it'll be the stuff used, for example, to make a martini. They have White Monkey Gin, they'll have Martini and Rossi Dry Vermouth, and you're like, excellent, there's no martini on the menu. And you ask them, why do you have vermouth? And they'll be like, they never sell it, they never open it. And then they keep it on the shelf warm. So for those who are not aware, again, vermouth is a wine, even fortified, it's a wine. So wine does not stay, 1, warm, and 2, on the shelf. So if it's closed, if you have vermouth and it's sitting on the shelf closed, that's fine. It's good for quite a while. Once you open it, you get 1 month that it's really good. You can push it up to about 6 months as long as it's refrigerated. Once you open it, you got to refrigerate it and make sure you keep it closed. They do keep it closed, but they keep it warm and on the shelf. That doesn't work. That goes bad, right? That's one of the reasons why Americans typically don't like vermouth and a lot of things with vermouth, because they're throwing it on the shelf and letting it sit, especially if you're doing it at home. If you're going to a good bar, it's not a problem, right? That's why, one of the reasons why you're going to a bar and being like, oh, I love these cocktails. This martini is excellent. This whatever is excellent. One of the reasons is because your vermouth is a major component of cocktails. You're going home and you have spoiled vermouth. Like that's, of course it's bad. Also, you probably don't have bitters, right? You're probably making the stuff without the bitters and just missing a major flavor component. And often you're making things too strong. So all those things you're probably doing wrong. And I mean, if you love what you make at home, great. That's all that matters. But if you're making it like, man, I want to go to the bar because their martini is so much better than mine, you can fix that, right? Get small bottles of vermouth, keep them refrigerated. Don't let them sit for a super long time. If that's going to happen, pour yourself an aperitif and enjoy it before dinner to get your digestive system going. That's what it's for. But so here in the bars, almost always, I would say 9 out of 10 times, if you have a selection, they're going to list Aperol, they're going to list Campari, they're going to list vermouth, and they don't know how to serve it. They will only serve it as a shot, and they'll expect that they think that it's like for crazy foreigners or something, because the locals never do it. So the bottles last for forever, right? They're not going bad, except for the vermouth. And but just no one orders it. And when you do order it, they're like, do we have that? I don't know. I'm like, no, I can see it, right? Oh, well, okay. Like they're happy to serve it to you, but they have no idea why. So the point being, the idea of a cocktail culture in Nicaragua almost doesn't exist. I say almost. You go to Managua, you're going to be able to find places that can make cocktails. They do exist, but they are few and far between, and they're the exception. They're a special case, and they're a specialty place. Be aware, just be cognizant. If you're looking for a cocktail, you probably can't get it. If you see the ingredients on the menu, assume they don't know how to mix them and they aren't sure why they have them, and they often won't know how to serve them or be clear what they are. I do know a few places, like here in Leon. If you go to Sundance, they make a great Negroni. If you order an old fashioned, it's a delicious drink that is not to the best of my knowledge, an old-fashioned. I can't even identify the ingredients. It's extremely cinnamony. I will get it again. April and I both had it, and we're both like, this is excellent. It is not at all an old-fashioned. I don't know what I'm drinking. It's weird, but tasty. But their Negroni is good, and so that's a good sign that someone's making a Negroni. But a Negroni is very, very simple and uses the ingredients that people know, right? It's vermouth, it's gin, and it's Campari. So they have those things they can make a Negroni. But you're really limited to just a few standard things, and only a very few places do it. It is in fact one of only 2 or 3 Negronis I know in the entire city, and that's one of the things that the correct ingredients for a Negroni are available at almost every bar, or at least they could order them. Like, it's not specialty. Their normal distributors could get them the parts, the components, and almost all of the bars have those components. Campari, not so much. Gin, the majority of the bars carry gin, and many of the bars carry vermouth. They never use it. It goes bad. Just like in America, it's warm. It could be open for 2 years for real. And some of them have Campari, just a few. Of those that have all 3, maybe 1 out of 5, 1 out of 8 of them will then know how to make a Negroni. So it's rare, right? If they have Aperol, they almost certainly know how to make a spritz or something akin to it, right? So there's some things. It's very, very limited, and just so that's the biggest thing is the access to selection. And because there's no access to selection, and because there aren't ways to make what we think of in America or Guatemala or Mexico or Panama as a cocktail lounge, no one's able to experience this to then know what to do. And so they kind of, I think what's happening is they're seeing pictures of American bars. They're seeing pictures of things other places and saying, well, we want to have that too. That looks classy. That looks nice. People enjoy that. And so they do their best to replicate it and have no real idea of what's being made or how it's being done. And so there's a gap. And so by just having it and then they just put it on the menu as items, they're kind of leaving it up to you to figure out what to do. And locally, right, the standard mixed drink is rum and Coke. And the way that it is very, very often ordered is that you order a bottle of rum and a bottle of Coke and you mix it at the table. They'll give you a shot glass so you can measure it. You basically get your own jigger. And so that's how different the approach is. Now, some things like a pina colada, they're pretty common, and they make them all over the place because it's rum, right? So that's kind of the cocktail scene. It would be amazing to see that improve here, to see some growth in that, to find a way to get more bars involved, more people involved, to get an interest going in it. Because in Guatemala, they're doing well, right? They've got some great stuff. I've been to great spots in Guatemala. I've been to great spots in Panama. And I've been to some in Costa Rica. I haven't sought it out in Costa Rica in the same way, but I've seen it. I know it's there. And it would be really neat to have that happen here. I think this is a culture that would appreciate it, but there needs to be education to be like, this is what it can be like, this is what other people are doing, and then they can put their own spin on it or whatever. But right now, there's just a gap and no one realizes other people are doing this thing, we don't have it, maybe we'd enjoy that. Thanks for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe. I will see all of you tomorrow.